We
Yeah,
are live.
go
All right.
live.
So good to be back doing the show. We missed the Ravens game. We wanted to recap that Ravens game, and so much good stuff happened. So that is, we're
2
sorry
and 0,
about that.
baby. 2-0.
Yeah, and we're gonna
Number one in the division.
yes, number
Number
one.
one in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah, all of that is true.
Tied, I mean, but still number one. Tied for number one in the NFL.
Yes. Now, and the Steelers are still winless. So
Steelers are like a broken home. People are ringing the doorbell, and there's a kitchen fire, and there's a baby who's pooped the diapers, and no one can find Mike Tomlin. I love it. I relish in what is happening in Pennsylvania or wherever they are. I mean, it's just remarkable. It's remarkable the degree to which karma, Dadio, works. The karma, the evil of the Steelers has finally come back like a snake that's devouring itself and has bitten them in hindsight.
yeah. Yeah, well, on Twitter I said that it's funny how they're still ranked number 10 best team on ESPN, even though they're one of like 9 teams that still haven't won a game. So they're like,
I
20.
mean, with the live show, you can't refer to previous episodes, but I've covered all this about the UFO cult conspiracy that the Steelers are. But, that's okay. People can go look at our previous shows and see that there's a lot going on under the covers there.
Yeah, that is true. But what's really interesting is the whole Antonio Brown. This is the Bengals show, and we have a lot to talk about. But the Antonio Brown situation is just too interesting. I was always wondering. I was thinking this guy is too good to be a Steeler, and he doesn't have any problems. He doesn't have any major issues. I mean, he like shows off, and stuff. But he's not a bad person. So I was like, he doesn't fit with the Steelers, and I think that is starting to show.
Well, now, John, what's your theory? I have my own conspiracy theory. What's your theory as to why Antonio Brown is so upset?
He's not getting targets. He's not as heavily featured in their offense as he wants. And this is the first year where he's not Todd Haley. And I don't think that Todd Haley would put up with everything that's going on. But they have a new offensive coordinator who's just kind of rolling with the punches, as you'd say. But it's just kind of like a domino effect. First, you have Bell doing his whole thing with his contract. Then you have Antonio and making a scene. And then now you have
and he was siding with Bell.
Yeah,
he was siding with Bell.
So my theory was about the smell of Ben Roethlisberger's feet, but you say tomato, I say tomato.
By the way,
I mean,
that seems like the center would have more of an issue than Antonio
Oh
himself.
yeah, I don't know. We each have our theories, but who knows who's right? You or me? Who knows? Anybody could be right.
That's true. So much fake news out there these days. I agree with that. Now, okay, so we have a lot to cover. First, we're going to start with the Ravens game. Now, I'm going to say what I liked most about the game. There is so much to like. But what I liked most was Andy Dalton's versatile performance. And what I mean by that is he made all sorts of throws. He made plays on the move, like that first touchdown to AJ Green and a big gain to Uzama. He made those quick passes that he trademarked, that he's so well known for. He made pockets when he had a clean pocket. Even plays when he had a clean pocket, which was most of the game. He wasn't sacked, which was nice. He made a nice back shoulder throw, kind of like like Aaron Rodgers to Tyler Boyd, and really, I'm seeing a much more complete quarterback. Arguably even more than 2015. And I know I tend to get very, very enthusiastic, but I said this right away when Laser took over last year. I really like Bill Laser. I think his attitude is perfect for our team.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
John, you got this one?
Yeah. I think in general, a Marvin Lewis Bengals team will preach winning the turnover battle more than anything. We've been on the record saying that if you win the turnover battle, you win the game. And I think that's been one of the biggest reasons why the Bengals are in this position right now is that they've only turned the ball over twice, and that was in week 1 against the Colts, but they've had 5 turnovers on defense, and that's as many as they had last year in week 5. So they've definitely stepped up in the turnover department on defense, and that was one of the things that new defensive coordinator Terrell Austin kind of implemented when he first came in here. But as we've seen in the past with Andy Dalton, he's kind of been that quarterback who you just don't want to turn the ball over. And when you have a defense that can give the ball back to your quarterback in so many, more times than not than years past, then it kind of frees up, how aggressive you can be on the offensive end. So it's just kind of like a symbiotic relationship working with the two new schemes under two new coordinators, kind of working in perfect harmony. And now we're seeing Dalton comfortable in his scheme, the offense getting the ball back more times with defense forcing more turnovers, and kind of the two principles kind of meshing up to form what is now one of the more balanced overall teams through 2 weeks in the NFL season.
If I may say, go ahead.
Everybody on the team, just a short comment. Everybody on the team seems to be turnover conscious, if you're going to follow my drift. If you remember in the third quarter, Boyd bats this near interception. I don't know if you guys remember, it was a while ago. Yeah. It was beautiful. I mean, that kind of energy, that kind of teamwork, that was going to be an interception without a doubt. But the way Boyd batted it, I was like, man, this is a different team. This team has its act together.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you guys talk about the team like this, because I remember you talking. They go maybe 7-9, 8-8.
I said Super Bowl winners, but the 9.
But you said Super Bowl winners like with the losing record or something. So it's very interesting to me because you all seem to have kind of picked up the whole positivity, which is very nice.
Yeah, it was like there was a wagon. Like a bandwagon.
No, thank you for coming on my wagon. We had a lot of room. It was me and Logie Baker, basically.
Yeah, Logie's driving the wagon. He's whipping. He's at the front of the wagon.
I'm the cameraman. I mean, I'm producing it. I'm producing the whole wagon experience. But
it was not. Listen, it was a great event and it was a great game. But it wasn't. How shall we say? It wasn't the Mona Lisa of NFL games. There were some problems. There was some amateur stuff that happened as well.
Well, I want to talk about that. So look, the Bengals won this game easily. Hold on. So they took it. They took a 21-0 lead, and really, it was then that a few questionable calls, kind of bad breaks, happened. There was Jesse Bates missing an interception. Then Denard was called for pass interference. These were all late in the second half. Maybe not. This was after they took a big lead, but Kirkpatrick dropped the interception with under a minute left in the half. And he was called for a 31-yard pass interference with 25 seconds left. And then the Ravens would score from the 1-yard line. And even that touchdown he gave up, Kirkpatrick gave up to John Brown in the fourth quarter. He really defended him well. It was just like one of those really crazy catches. So what I'm trying to say is, in terms of performance, I didn't see the Bengals let up. I didn't see it as the Bengals failing to adjust or to keep the intensity. That's not what I saw. And so I saw them dominate, for the most part, a team that dominated another NFL team by 44 points.
The Bills.
The Bills. They're an NFL team that was in the playoffs last year. But the point is this. They're still in the NFL. And they beat them by 44 points. And the Bengals could have easily won by 3 touchdowns this game if it was not for a few bad breaks.
It wasn't bad breaks, man.
Yeah.
When are we going to change the route? We got to talk about how it wasn't just bad luck; it was bad coaching. Look, I knew they were going to win this game when I started the game because I had the magic air booger. Okay, and I don't know if the viewers know what the magic air booger is. When the dry booger falls from your nose and you're not expecting it. If it's small, you have a little gift coming. If it's big, you have a big gift. Beginning of the game, magic air booger comes. I knew we were going to win. But it was a small one. I was like, why is it small? We're 21 ahead. And then I saw there's some amateurish stuff that reflects poorly on our coaching that happens at the game. I'm going to give you 2 big examples. One of them was Kirkpatrick's pass interference. Those are the dumb mistakes that really precise machine-like teams like the Patriots do not do. And the second was the holding call. That was on the first drive.
The Patriots gave up 500 yards in the Super Bowl passing, man.
Look. But once you get to that stage, it's different. The Patriots are, and a lot of the stuff the Patriots are doing, they're doing intentionally. It's because they like to cheat and win. But then you had the holding call on the first drive of the second half that also messed things up for the Bengals.
Yeah.
And that's when the momentum started to be bad. And
you're expecting a perfect team 2 games in. Let me tell you something. Yeah. This team is a growing team. It's the youngest, or it's 3rd or 4th youngest team in the league. and they just dominated a team that was expected to either win the division or be number 2 in the division.
Okay, what about that drive at the end of the first half that gave the Ravens a touchdown? You remember that? That wasn't supposed to happen. Bengals had the ball. They were ahead.
Breaks. Look. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying it easily could have been a 3-touchdown win. It was still double digit. So what I'm trying to say is, for, like I said, a very young team is still developing with a coordinator in his first full year offense and another coordinator in his first year defense, and three new starters on the line, or 4. I don't know if let's see, Bowling was there. Yeah, 4. Okay. A second-year running back being the focal point of the offense. You have, Andy Dalton, who had, is kind of skittish from last year. He's finally getting his confidence back. This team, unlike other teams, is not going to flame out other Bengals teams. It's only going to get better as the season progresses. This is what I'm trying to tell you guys. And
listen, this is what I call
concerns. I said, yes, there are concerns. But even last year, when we didn't add talent to the offensive line got better as the year progressed. This year with Frank Pollock is going to get even better.
Yeah, Pollock has done a good job. The offensive line has been surprisingly not horrible. It's not been great. But I mean,
that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. I learned from the best, John. But look, they've been surprisingly not horrible. But I think the real X factor, I think there's 3 X. There's a triple X team. There's the 3 X factors, but the real being the
triple X stuff, by the way.
Yeah, gross,
the not horrible offensive line is X number 1. That was a surprise. Dalton working better with Laser is number 2. That he has been a much better quarterback this year. But the real X factor, it's a big X, has been Mixon. Mixon has been the saving grace. He's been so surprised. The way that he's been able to just change plays that shouldn't have worked because he didn't have the coverage into plays that did work. I was surprised. I don't know. John,
speaking of John Mixon,
you don't agree, or you do agree? What do you think?
No, I think that I think we all agreed that the second half felt like a classic Bengals potential collapse because the Ravens defense made a ton of adjustments in terms of pressuring Dalton, got Dalton a little unfazed in the pocket there, and the offense had its obvious stalls. But in the past couple of years, this team doesn't score 28 points in the first quarter, and that's because they're just so much more talented. And even if they have these dry spouts in the middle of games, they can still explode in certain portions of the game and create insurmountable leads that less talented teams like the Ravens just aren't able to overcome. So I think that some of those issues are still there and they still need to be worked out. But the fact is that this team is considerably more talented, and at least for the first 2 weeks was more healthy. There's some health questions now, but that health obviously puts more talent on the field and can overcome some issues that, again, still need to be kinked out before the games actually start to matter down the season.
Yeah. John wrote an article today about Giovanni Bernard having to fill in for Joe Mixon, and Joe Mixon I really like this guy. He was saying he had a slight tear in his meniscus. And I think he just took some pieces out of his knee himself. It was really fast, the surgery, under an hour. And he's like, I'm ready to go, guys. But, maybe I wait until I can really cut on dimes and stuff. So he could play very soon, but it's probably better if he doesn't. And because of the injury to Mixon, and because his backup, Giovanni's backup, Trey Carson, also supposedly had an injury with the Bengals. We don't ever know if fringe players have injuries or not. Maybe they just tried to stash them. But Trey Carson had a hamstring injury, which is probably minor, but maybe he's not ready this week. So they brought in Thomas Rawls because Giovanni, we just learned, also has a knee injury. So we could be seeing Thomas Rawls getting the bulk of the carries. Now, that might seem like a bad thing. But remember, Rawls had his best game ever against the Bengals. That's probably how they remember him. And he looked like a very, very promising rookie back in 2015, I believe it was. He had 169 yards and just 23 carries. It's like 7 yards a carry. And he's still only 25. And he had a couple of years to rest because he wasn't really playing that much with the Jets and so forth. So I think that Rawls could be good. I do think Mixon does a lot more with the offensive line than almost any back could. That's how talented he is. He makes up for the lack of holes and all that. We've talked about that, John, and about Adam Spink's research. He really, really does fight for the yards. He's great. But Rawls kind of has a similar style. He does fight with yards. He does make it out of the backfield when it looks like there is not an opening. If you watch him, and he played when he was healthy. He played for the Seahawks, who have a terrible offensive line. So I like the signing, and I'm not losing hope in the running game. But I do think we need an elite running game to get where this team wants to go. And even with Mixon, the offensive line has to continue to grow. So, I want to get your thoughts on the Rawls signing and who's going to be playing for us against the Panthers.
John.
Oh, okay.
That's a John question.
I usually refer to you for the first questions, but So with Rawls, you couldn't make the Jets roster, and to Isaiah Crowell's credit, he's had a pretty good start to the season, but there's still 3 other backs on that team that Rawls couldn't beat out. So that's kind of concerning. Obviously, the Bengals are a good example of letting talented backs go in the form of Brian Hill, who's now back with the Falcons. But I mean, I don't expect Rawls to get more than 5 or at most 10 touches against the Panthers. I think Bernard is going to take the bulk of those if he is healthy. I'm cautiously optimistic about a potential Mark Walton first touches of the regular season, because he had a horrible preseason because of bad blocking and stuff like that. But with Rawls, he doesn't excite me too much because all that good stuff was 3 years ago, and he's kind of lost he might have lost a little bit of a step from now until then. So I don't think the running game matters that much with the way the passing game is going at this point, because as we've seen around the league, the best 2 teams in the NFL right now are the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, and they have the 2 best passing offenses, 2 most explosive passing offenses in the NFL right now, and the Bengals are a little behind them, but not that far behind them in that sense. So as long as the passing game remains healthy and remains explosive, I think that they can survive without Mixon for the time being. And also because Bernard, I think, is a lot better than what the national media thinks of him.
No, Giovanni Bernard is fantastic. And if we take the approach you're talking about, which is using the passing game to open up the running game, then Giovanni is perfect, because he's going, then he's going to see less men in the box. He has a little space, and he's fantastic. But I gotta say, John, I like your optimism, but our passing offense won't continue to be that way if we can't continue to schematically work around our deficiencies of the offensive line. And part of that's because Billy Price is out, and I know that Trey Hopkins did well in pass protection when Price went out with a foot injury. By the way, he might be out for a while. He's in a walking boot.
Right.
And they say it also has an ultrasound device attached to it. So, I mean, there might be, a baby in his foot or something. I don't know what the problem is, but it could be a major issue, and there's no timetable for his return.
Oh, man.
Yeah, John, do you know about that? I don't know about the medicine.
Such a tough sport, that football,
Yeah. But anyways, yeah.
Well, what you were alluding to is that, like the Bengals scored 28 points in the first half, and they averaged well less than 4 yards per carry against the Ravens. So you're like the biggest component about a Marvin Lewis team needs to run the ball, and I think that's so archaic in that sense.
Yeah. No, I'm saying to keep the defense, keep the passive offense alive. You can't. Yeah.
You don't need to run the ball to set up the pass game anymore. This isn't the mid 2000s anymore. You can get so much more creative. Running back production can be generated so much easier. And if you rely on a running back to make the flow of your offense go, you're not running the right offense.
Dadio, have you not been watching the show? John is talking about spreading out the ball.
No, I know. Look at the teams that really.
But the Bengals got to think out the box, man.
Okay, let's take the Seahawks. Let's take the Seahawks. Seahawks have one of the top 10 quarterback easily, Russell Wilson, and I haven't seen them.
There's rumors he's going to the Patriots.
Terrible offensive line. They had some decent weapons in the passing game, but the terrible offensive line couldn't run the ball at all because they didn't have a top 5 back like we have in Mixon. And as a result, the passing game even suffered, right?
They have Tyler Lockett. That's their best receiver's hurt.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about this year. I'm saying the past 3 years or so.
Does anybody on the show know who's starting at running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Because I don't.
Oh, it's quiz time.
I don't.
Yeah.
And somehow Ryan Fitzpatrick is the best passer in the league.
Is there offensive line? Does that have as many problems as our
trying to highlight the fact that we're not good at our jobs. But you're making a rhetorical point.
I don't even know who his name is.
When is the part of the show when we get to insult Joe Flacco? Can you?
Here's the thing. Joe Flacco through 11. Hold on. I want everybody to remember this fact.
Oh
Joe
my
Flacco threw 11 touchdowns and 0
Oh, God.
interceptions in the 2012 playoffs. No, you can't be lucky. So I
Okay.
will always respect him
The
for that.
Flacco. They keep calling him elite.
No, I'm not saying he's elite, but he really stepped up when it
yeah,
mattered
it's not
most.
elite. It's more like defeat because he can't move defeat when we chase him, man. He Flacco.
Hey, we gave him a hard time. We sacked him like 5 times, 4 or 5 times.
The man is Flacco is like flaccid.
Did you know that
He's
Gino
flaccid.
Atkins alone? Gino Atkins alone had 9 pressures that game. 9.
Look, the thing
How many-
about
like one
the
every-
thing about Flacco is that we have his number. And I know that's a phrase that people throw around, oh, I have your number, but we literally have his number. Like we can call him anytime and be like, Flacco, you suck. And that really messes with his head knowing that we have his number.
And AJ Green has the Ravens number. I mean,
AJ Green has the entire Ravens team number on speed dial, man. He can call them all and say, you suck.
It was interesting. This game, he decided not to destroy them deep. He's like, I'll do something different. And as
was
great of a
good,
game
man.
as
I
he
gotta
had,
say,
Tyler Boyd still had more receptions and yards. And so Tyler Boyd, by the way, solid number 2 option, developing. He's developing it. I'm really happy about that.
I know, but it's not about numbers. There's something about AJ Green where the way he catches the ball and the times and the places where he does it. There's something like a masterpiece, like Leonardo da Vinci-esque about the way that.
No, I mean, he was technically a great receiver when he came into the league, and he keeps working on his craft. I mean, he's amazing.
We are so. You know what? This is a 4X team. He is the other X factor that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
That man is so special.
He is.
AJ Green.
But I wanted to go to the comment section real quick. So, Rib or RBB, I don't know how to pronounce it. He wants to know from John, I assume, because I have no idea. How is Thomas Rawls in pass blocking?
He hasn't played like in a while, so there's not a lot of data on that. But he's about Bernard's size, and Bernard is a really good pass blocker, but not a lot of backs at that size are that good in that area. So I don't know if he's going to be tasked with that. If he is, then obviously Bernard's dealing with health issues, but. I don't know, to be honest with you. I'll have to look
Rib, let me tell you one thing. The Rawls is not the magic solution we're looking for. I mean, it's not just that the Jets cut him, and it's not just the personal problems he's had in his life. Because sometimes Bengal players, I mean, who've had personal problems in their lives, they do well here. That they couldn't do well elsewhere. It's just the fact that he just the performance wise, he never really did that. I mean, he had a good rookie year, but he just never really. He never really shined, and the Bengals isn't the place to do that because we don't have the setup and the protection.
But you guys say this, we say, oh, this guy is not good. But remember, Marvin Lewis, reclamation projects. Look at Adam Jones, the way his career is going. Look at Reggie Nelson. Look at even Preston Brown's having a good year. Look at should I go on? I mean, mostly defensive.
Preston Brown, he missed last game.
No, I know, but he's been playing pretty solid. He's been pretty good in the preseason. He looked good. He played first game. He looked good. Look. I want to take the next comment, and this comes from John McIntosh. I just thought I should let him. I don't know, but he says, Hodgie, if you're not married, I have a hot daughter. She's a blonde. I don't know if we should tell him about.
Wait a minute. Does it really say that?
Well, I just feel like we should address the comments because I want people to feel involved.
Wait, so people are offering their daughters to the show now?
I think they're familiar with your culture, the South Village Island. North Village Island is not, we don't have arranged marriages in North Village Island.
No, this is not, this is not, I'm too old to get married again. It would be like the 14th, 15th time. I can't handle it anymore. I have too many marriages. I'm just enjoying being single. I got my life, I got my drinks, I got my vegan lifestyle. And I just, I'm just doing my best. I'm getting by day by day. I'm dealing with the pain of being old.
Getting by every day, driving around with his Tesla, very sympathetic.
The Tesla does most of the work in that scenario.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an autopilot mode.
Right. Oh. So look, I want to talk a little bit about some other plays. We talked a little bit about Billy Price. Jesse Bates had a big game, had the interception, almost had another one on a deep completion to John Brown. It was completed, unfortunately, but almost Bates had it. Sam Hubbard had a sack, and he's really starting to show himself now that Michael Johnson is out. He's probably going to get more opportunities. So a lot of people want to talk about Hubbard. John, what did you see from him?
I think he had a good game. I think when Johnson was originally cut for 24 hours, people had a lot of optimism about Hubbard in an increased role, and I think he looked good against a good left tackle in Ronnie Stanley. Specifically in run defense, he's really good at resetting the line of scrimmage, and he's obviously rotating in with Jordan Willis in that nickel defensive tackle position. But I think Johnson was limited in practice today, which was shocking because I thought he was supposed to be out a month. In classic, their injuries are just, it's like liar's dice, and whatever pops out of that's the injury diagnosis. And so they got Johnson's wrong, obviously. But I think with Johnson still kind of, questionable in terms of health, Hubbard's going to get naturally more. And Terrell Austin said that they were going to involve him after the Colts game, and he ended up with 50-something snaps against the Ravens, and he showed out. And he almost had another sack with Geno on Geno's second sack. So he had a good performance.
Okay. All right. So looks like should we wrap this up, because we still have a lot to cover. Hodgie needs to go.
I need to go. I'm speaking tonight for a benefit for owls, and are you guys aware? I don't want to take time on the show to talk about what's going on with owls in our country and the way people aren't caring about owls and no one's protecting the owls. But I have a great talk with a PowerPoint presentation.
Well, speaking of owls, I had a great trip. That's why I missed the game. I was in the wilderness. I was discovering myself. I was learning so much about nature and trees.
Yeah, it's funny because you told your aunt that you were going back to Village Island, but my sources tell me that you went to Columbia, California.
Yeah, but it's very nice up there.
It is nice up there. In fact, that's where the gold rush was first discovered. Gold was discovered in California, and
it's a
my sources tell me that you
close to Yosemite. It's beautiful.
Yes, that you were actually panning for gold. They saw you with the old miner tools.
I mean, it's a great offer. It's like $10.
You were the guy with overalls and looking for gold to buy stuff for the show.
Well, look, well, we do need the stuff for the show, and that's actually Rick Hawley has been amazing, and he helped us out.
Did you see my tweet? I tweeted the microphones.
Yeah, he sent Hodgie mics, to put on his collar, the lapel mics. He sent me a mic for my camera, so we're going to use those once we start using the puppets. And
so it's great because the show will have visual and it'll have sound too, which is
And he sent me these boxes that I haven't opened yet, but they're the size of short human beings. They're like about 3-4 feet tall and
wide. Knowing our fans, they might be short human beings. It sounds like our fans are in the
I know Rick is a pretty big fan. Maybe he wanted to visit me.
Spending as human beings.
Maybe it was his way. Maybe it's cheaper than the airplane ticket. But I mean, he did pay hundreds of dollars for the postage, and we thank him for that. And he's going to help us pay for the lights for John and for Hodgie. So he still need the lights, and we're going to, he's going to help us achieve that as well. Rick is a legend when it comes to DNH sports.
Rick, anything you want on the show, you just let us know. It's there, it's done, because that's the way it works. You wash my hand, I wash your feet. That's how culturally I am. That's how I work.
Yeah, and in Hodgie's part again, they wash the feet. It's we have showers. They wash people that.
But you're such an elitist, Daddy.
Well,
people don't know that about you, but I know that about you.
Yeah, but look, okay, so I have to make just quick other announcements, and that is that we have our giveaways for this week. A little bit late again. I was traveling, but Rob Wallet, if you're listening, you have won the drawing for the week. It is 2 drawings. One is of Hodgie reclining and whistling, and the other is Dadio awkwardly responding. So, Rob, if you're listening, please, you can contact me on Twitter or elsewhere. Just let me know your address, and I will send you to the drawing. Now, the starting lineup, the first starting lineup we've ever given away is going to Romain. And I saw him in the chat earlier. I think he's here.
Oh, man.
Romain, you have won the Corey Dillon starting lineup figure.
Oh, man, we could so use Corey Dillon on the team right now. Is he still around?
He is still alive, but he's probably not much healthier than, Thomas, or like faster than Thomas Rawls. But look, so if you want to win a starting lineup or a drawing, similarly, you can subscribe if you haven't already, and just leave a comment saying what you like about Daddy or Hodgie, or you can say who you like. Corey Dillon is gone, so Carl Pickens or Jeff Blake. Which one you like better? You'll win that. I wanted to talk about the Panthers a little bit more. Maybe John can give us a little take on that. John, can you give us maybe like 2-3 minutes talk about that? Or you have
Cam Newton is better. Cam Newton is better than you think. Luke Kuechly is the most elite defensive player, not on the defensive line right now. Christian McCaffrey is dangerous in the open field and dangerous in the way that North Turner is starting to use him out wide in the slot, create some wrinkles with some motions in the backfield. The Bengals linebackers are going to be tested a lot with the read option and especially their edge defenders and just reading Cam and McCaffrey in the backfield. I think CJ Anderson can do some damage in the way that Thomas Rawls did to them back when they played Seattle in 2015. But they are dealing with a lot of injuries. I think their cornerback Dante Jackson did not practice today. Trey Turner, their guard, who stayed, or their other guard on the right side, he was out with a concussion today. I don't know who's going to start at left tackle for them. I don't know if Taylor Moan's going to move back to right tackle. But they're dealing with a lot of injuries, just like the Bengals are. But I think people don't appreciate who Cam Newton is as a quarterback and how he carries the Panthers. I think that's and I think that's
he's more than a passer. I agree with you in that sense. You can't evaluate him as just a passer.
And he's not just more than a passer, but he does more things mentally and cerebrally.
But John, one thing I like Cam Newton. I see his impact on the field, but he throws high. He throws high so often.
Yeah, but his supporting cast has never been as good as Dalton.
Right, but even when he had that really tall guy who's no good, now went to the Bills, and I don't know where he is now.
Fat Kelvin, yeah.
Okay,
great target.
But I'm just saying he needs those kind of guys that are like 6'6" or whatever. Like I don't know, it's like.
I will say that on some vertical routes, Cam does throw a little bit high, but it's kind of crazy how much he counters those inaccurate throws with pinpoint throws that are also dropped. It's kind of weird.
No, I love Cam Newton. I think he hasn't. I really don't think he's found his stride yet or hit his prime yet. To be honest, he's won the MVP, but I think he's the type of guy if he can stay healthy and upright. As he learns the game more and more, he's going to get better. Yeah. So. Any final thoughts, Hodgie? We gotta wrap this up.
Cautiously optimistic. I mean, I don't know how we're gonna do. Panthers are a really great team, but I think part of what makes them great is they don't face this. Really, you have to realize the AFC, especially AFC North, is really its own thing. I mean, it's a tough division, and so I'm hoping that that means that we do better. The team has found its momentum. It's found its leadership. And look, I mean, if we don't win and we're missing Burfict and we're missing Mixon, that's a perfectly good reason not to win. I mean, and when those guys come back, I think...
Well, we should win. I mean, look, the Panthers are a very average team. They've maybe scored one more point. They're about middle of the pack in every,
regular season Panthers is above average team. It's a B+ team.
Yeah, overall they're average, but there are certain positions where they kind of favor over us, and that might tilt the game to their favor, especially
I don't like the attitude that you guys are. They're gonna win this game. We're gonna be 3-0. It's gonna be a great week. We're gonna try and cover.
Just don't disappear into the woods again.
Well, no, I found what I was. I mean, I
found gold.
No, I found myself, which is gold. I found my identity, which was great. Very spiritual. Look. That is all we have. We're going to try and recap right after the game. We'll see what is going on. But there's about 48 of you still here, so thank you. And if you have not subscribed, please do so and tell your friends, spread the word.
Patreon.
Show where you're going to see the puppets with the lights and all the stuff that Rick Holly is, he gave us like $1,000 of equipment or more, and he keeps helping us even with the postage and other stuff. So really, Rick Holly, thank you. And you're going to see a really highly produced show sometime. We're thinking about a few weeks when we get the puppets, sometime around then. All right. For Hodgie and John, I am Dadio. We will see you next time. Sweetie pies.